The story Bread, or Broyt in Yiddish, comes from a collection of stories by Yenta Mash entitled On the Landing, translated from Yiddish into English. Bread is a story about hunger and privation, a story about a mother and a daughter. It's a true story, a story of survival. Here's an excerpt. In those bitter days, we'd been scattered to the ends of the earth, exiled to Siberia for our own or our parents' supposed transgressions. We were the lost tribe, the deportees. Once upon a time, we'd been lovely brides and schoolgirls, shielded from the slightest breath of wind. After 2 years of hard labor, it was hard to recognize us as those same young ladies. We spent all day in the forest, dressed in rags, our trousers held up with twine, faces covered with masks against mosquitoes, buckets and shovels in our hands. Starving, exhausted, isolated from all human contact, we had the feeling that the Lord himself had gotten lost somewhere up in the tall, dense crowns of the pine trees and completely abandoned us. Besides bread, twice a day, morning and evening, the kitchen gave us soup made from the dregs of soaking barley straw. The soup was hot and it stuck to our ribs, quieting our hunger for at least a short time. On top of that, we ate whatever we could find in the forest. Into the sacks hanging from our shoulders went mushrooms, wild garlic that was said to guard against scurvy, and above all, berries, currants, blackberries, lingonberries, wood sorrel, and others whose names I've forgotten, thank God. The berries were our manna, but with a difference. Rather than falling from the heavens, this manna had to be collected from swamps and marshes. And in order to find it, you had to walk with your head down, eyes on the ground. Alas, people often wandered deep into the forest, lost their way, and never returned. This is what happened to my mother of blessed memory. On the 20th of August, 1943, she went into the forest to gather berries, and she will remain in the taiga to the end of time. When I came home from work and realized what had happened, I screamed at the top of my lungs. Everyone from our district, led by our boss, headed into the woods to search for my mother. We carried lanterns, sticks, and a rifle. We yelled and banged and whistled and shot off the gun, listening for a response, all in vain. Late at night, we returned empty-handed. Exhausted from weeping and shouting, I went into our little room. When I lay down on the bed we shared, I felt something under my head. I lifted the pillow and burst into tears. There, wrapped in a white handkerchief, was the crust of bread my mother had been saving for later. 43 years have passed since then, and only now do I confess that I ate my mother's bread that night. I soaked the crust with bitter tears and I devoured it. Now, I look out into the early morning and I wonder, my God, how many lives could be saved with the bread we throw away every day? I think of the moist white loaves of braided challah we have on Shabbos. We put them on the table in a place of honor. We cover them with a white embroidered cloth. We light the candles and we say a blessing over them. And the next day, we toss those very challahs into the garbage. Why, I ask, do we even bother to bless them?